I had a conversation with Sam Seder, and
Radical
literally they launched a bot campaign on my YouTube.
You know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air. It's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility.
All right, so Jillian Michaels has once again brought up Sam Seder and her recent debate with Sam Seder on this show that she does with Dave Rubin and like other people. But this is actually the second time that Jillian Michaels has mentioned this debate in the context of this show, which is funny because it's with Dave Rubin. She seems to be pitching it to Dave Rubin to give him something to say every time. And every time Dave Rubin just refuses to mention Sam Seder. He completely stays away from that subject. And yet Jillian Michaels brings it up here because she wants to express that she feels harassed. She felt like Sam's fans were, attacking her and sending death threats through the email. She pointed to the Vanguard sending people to an email that she had publicly put out, and then that seemed to lead to some creepy messages that she got or something. But she kind of conflated that as being something Sam did by saying, okay, this is your fan base. And then now she's like really doubling, tripling down on that and saying that she has gotten like a massive wave of harassment and that Sam Seder sicked a bot campaign on her show after their debate. So this is a really interesting tactic to kind of maintain a bad faith veneer and avoid debates like this, which is pretty much where she's going with this. And I want to tie it in with some of the other conservative scandals that are going on right now in the world of, mouthpieces and grifters in this conservative space, because I think this is a moment where we're seeing the lack of command that these people have of the facts and ability to debate and defend themselves in debate, and also just kind of the curtain is falling off of the grift a little bit. So here is Jillian talking a little bit about Sam Seder and them reacting to it on the Majority Report.
I did have a run-in with a radical leftist recently, which I mentioned to you, Dave, and I experienced something very similar. I had a conversation with Sam Seder, and literally they launched a bot campaign on my YouTube, flagged all of my videos.
Wait a second, pause it for 1 second. Now, but if she says as a statement of fact that we launched a what bot?
Literally.
A bot campaign. Now, I know for a fact that we did not. Not only do I not know how to launch a bot campaign, not only have I never paid for any service that would launch a bot campaign, she would be the last person I could ever imagine. That why would I send a bot campaign to her?
She was doing a bot campaign live in the debate with you, talking to AI, which all these commenters that are supposedly bots pointed out in their chat.
Now, should I ask for an apology? I'm not a litigious person. You know this about me. But should I ask for an apology from her?
Public apology.
I need a public apology. She has made an accusation.
So because you're a public figure, she would actually have to actively know that this was not true and say it because she was trying to harm you.
Now, what if she's clearly just saying it to try and harm me. I think that's quite obvious. She's trying to disparage my reputation.
I think she's trying to save her own reputation.
Well, all right. Let's reserve that for now. If I was to email her and say, Jillian, I am telling you right now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I did not send a bot farm to you or anybody else. I've never had a bot farm, never done anything with bots. I demand a retraction. Does that change the dynamic as to what she knows or no?
Probably not. I also think that you have not been harmed by this in any way.
Are you kidding? You're sitting right there thinking I'm the type of person who maybe puts bots out.
They launched a bot campaign on my YouTube, flagged all of my videos for demonetization. I have something called LifeLock to protect my credit. I have never in my life seen it warn you of death threats on social media. I had, as of last week, it stopped now, finally, 95 death threats on social media. They sent bots. I have on the one video that we did together, there are 9,000 comments and 100,000 views. So Red Seat had to deal with the back end of my channel because they thought I was buying engagement. It was a nightmare. And what's funny is that before we engaged in that conversation, I didn't even remember interacting with Sam Seder. I didn't even know who he was, only to find out that there were numerous videos of himself and, the Hassan Piker's. Hassan Piker calls this guy Uncle Sam, and this group called Vanguard, and they'd already sent death threats to this email I'd set up for the podcast. It is exactly, Dave. They're the same people cut from the same cloth. It is exactly what you dealt with, and you get to the point where you're like, all right, you know what? I really want civil discourse, but there is a faction of the left that is truly mentally unwell.
I have gotten death threats on social media, but LifeLock has never contacted me.
I'm not sure that's something they do.
I don't know that that's what they do. That's sort of interesting. But I guess what I take issue with there is that, like, how does she know it's not like the Matan people? Like, she embarrassed herself in multiple shows in a short period of time. And that is, I think, not best practice. Because if you're going to embarrass yourself on a show, you should make sure that there's sufficient time for you to assess where the criticism is coming from, rather than going and embarrassing yourself on another show just days later. You need to spread these out so you get a sense of, like, am I getting blowback from embarrassing myself here or over there?
Yeah, look, I don't think anybody no one should be subject to death threats. I just think that, like...
Oh, I agree. I find it hard to believe that she is.
It has not been my experience that losing a rhetorical debate to you makes someone the target of violent threats.
Which is why she says it's bots. That's why she says it's bots.
Seems unlikely.
I think people would probably go and celebrate by criticizing her, but not, I would say, a death threat. That seems ridiculous. But it really does seem like she doesn't want to do this.
Yeah, so she's certainly making some bold claims here. She's saying that they sent a bot campaign, like a huge bot network, to her channel, blew up the video with a bunch of fake engagement, also sent her a bunch of death threats. She makes a couple really specific points here. She says that, like, some company that she has to protect her information online alerted her that she was getting death threats. And she also says she has a bunch of death threats in her DMs and her emails. And this weird thing about the engagement on the video, which I'll get back to because that actually ties in with the rest of what I want to talk about in this video. But this thing about the death threats. So I think that she needs to substantiate some of these claims a little bit. The bot network thing as well. And that seems to be what Sam's upset about. I think he's being a little facetious here. I don't think that he would actually plan on litigating. Although he did kind of get worked up in the same way about Anna Kasparian making the accusation that they were taking ad money specifically from the Kamala Harris campaign during the election and running ads on their channel. That was an accusation that she made. And Sam feels like, okay, you're directly accusing me of something that I can prove I didn't do. And so does that amount to defamation? It's true that he would have to prove that they knew it was true and that they said it anyway to harm him, which is an incredibly high barrier to reach. That's why people don't get sued for defamation very often in America. And in fact, a recent example of this would be Ethan Klein's attempted cases against a few different content creators where he didn't actually directly go after them for defamation because that is a non-starter, but rather he targeted smaller YouTubers with like more specific claims, like they stole his content and re-streamed it. Or in the case of iDubbbz, whom he just dropped his case against, iDubbbz posted something that Destiny had said in the video iDubbbz made about Ethan Klein. And because it was this like crazy accusation that Destiny had said, Ethan Klein's angle was that, okay, you're reposting this defamatory or harmful claim about me. And it's not that he is going to be able to prove that's true, or even in the case of Denims, which also I believe got thrown out in court. It's the fact that he can put an enormous amount of financial pressure on these creators in the meantime because they don't have the means to fight that accusation. So he found a specific vector of attack that isn't going to get immediately thrown out in court to put some additional pressure on these content creators. In the case of Denims, the court did end up throwing it out. In the case of iDubbbz, he dropped an apology to Ethan Klein, which got Ethan Klein to withdraw the lawsuit. So, I mean, really scummy behavior on his part, and he's openly admitted that he is weaponizing these type of lawsuits in order to shut people up who criticize him, specifically harsh critics of Israel. But anyway, back to Jillian Michaels here. So I think, there's no litigating to be had here, really, but I think that Sam can press this issue if he wants to, because she's making a lot of claims that I think she should have to substantiate. And if she's getting all of this harassment and all these death threats, she should share it. She should put it out there, because if that's true, it would make Sam look really bad and his audience look really bad. But I don't think she's going to do that. I think that what she's doing and what a lot of people do is she's conflating a lot of people mocking her and saying mean things to her, and maybe a handful of messages that she got that crossed the line. Like the email that she showed in her debate with Sam Seder that apparently she got after the Vanguard directed people to her email was pretty out there, and I'm sure she got some other stuff like that. But the idea that Sam Seder's audience is full of people who are just like bloodthirsty harassers like this is just not true. It's a misreading of the personality type that she's dealing with that audience. And as far as, all this engagement on the video, she says it got 9,000 comments on 100,000 views. Now that's a lot of comments, but it's not like crazy out there. What that is a lot of engagement on a video that you got a negative reaction, which is one of the reasons that you can get a huge amount of engagement on a video. And I think she's also underestimating the level of activity of this community that she's engaged with, aside from the fact that she did in fact humiliate herself in that debate, which didn't help. But Jillian does not get a lot of engagement on her videos, which is probably why she was so confused at the amount of engagement that she was getting here, and specifically the fact that it was spiraling into this thing that kind of went modestly viral, and there was all these comments that were dunking on her, because that's the nature of when there's a very one-sided debate, and Jillian was on the wrong side of it, gave people a lot of excuses to attack her, like her use of AI and stuff, which is what a lot of the comments were about. So, I mean, if this activity is inorganic and she's getting a bunch of death threats in her DMs or whatever, she should show both of those things. And she said Red Seat, which is the company that she works for, that's the company that distributes her podcast. She signed a deal with them. They do a number of conservative podcasts. They're owned by Fox. She said that they got involved and did like an investigation of the engagement on the video. She did not say that they found a bunch of bots or inorganic activity. If they did, she should prove that. And Sam should press the issue. And he should say, look, if you can prove that you got a bunch of harassment related to our video that seemed like it was people who are fans of me, or if you can in some way prove that the engagement you got, or that you were somehow targeted with bots, by Sam Seder or somebody close to him. There's really no way that you could prove anything like that. You could show some of the inorganic engagement that you're talking about, and it might have hallmarks of, things coming from a certain community, but I just doubt it. I doubt that there's any evidence to that effect. And Sam should say, if you can prove it, I'll apologize, because that puts the ball back in her court. And he can also say, if you won't prove it, then let's debate again. Let's talk again. Not about this, but about some other subject, let's run it back. Because I think that this is like a foot on their necks moment. These idiots are losing these debates. Dave Rubin, who is who she's talking to here, and the subject they're talking about that led into this whole thing about Sam Seder is Dave Rubin getting washed in that Jubilee debate and feeling like it's because they were so mean and they hated him so much. And even if they did, even though that is true, you also came to the debate with no facts, and so you lost. And that's part of the reason you look so bad to everybody, not just the left. And what it really is a way to run away from conversations like this. It's actually interesting to see, because she went into this debate with Sam Seder probably thinking that he was smaller and more marginal than he is, because he is relatively small, but he has a very engaged, very loyal fan base. And so it seems like she wasn't prepared for that and got kind of overwhelmed, because she just does not have the same level of audience support, even among her supporters. And this is a very bad faith tactic to essentially say, well, there's certain people that I'm going to pick and choose that I don't want to talk to anymore. Despite the fact that, like, Sam is one of the more honest people in the political sphere that you can talk to. I mean, he might not be pleasant to talk to if he doesn't like you, But at the same time, you know, the idea that you're talking to someone who's going to like sick Qatari bots on you or something like that, as cool as that is, and as cool as it is to think that that's what it is to be in the community of Majority Report, as someone who's been following it for a long time, I don't think that they're pulling off that kind of stuff. And if that's the activity you're seeing on your channel, it's probably coming from some other source that has interest in you. And so that ties in a little bit with this video that has been going viral of Riley Gaines, who is the swimmer who lost to a trans competitor in women's college swimming. The trans swimmer did not win first place. She won fourth place, and Riley Gaines won fifth place behind her. But Riley Gaines used this as a jumping off point for an entire grifter career in the right-wing world, and that has been laid bare by a clip that somehow leaked of Riley Gaines essentially being fed talking points on this Patriot Mobile sponsorship that she decided to do. So I'll get into all of that in a second, but here's the clip of her being fed talking points.
Wait, tell me the pillars again. So it's pro-life.
First Amendment, Second Amendment, sanctity of life, and veteran and first responders.
Okay. First, second. Yep. Cool. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, our veterans, I feel very passionately about. Do you guys, if you're going to talk about, I mean, you hate to even call them political issues, but do you specifically say like the left or the right, or is that something you try to kind of refrain from? Like if I were to say something to the effect of like the left is still doubling down.
Yeah, you can say. Okay, I've heard you introduce from the beginning, so.
Okay, first, that's what I needed to figure out really quick, is when I first, I mean, definitely over a year though. I would say, can I just say that, like around 2 years ago? Wait, tell me the pillars again. So it's pro-life.
So, First Amendment, Second Amendment, sanctity of life, and veteran and first responders.
Okay,
And
first, second, yep. Hello, my name is Riley Gaines, and I'm a very, very proud Patriot Mobile user, and I have been for about 2 years now.
All right, so Riley Gaines here is doing some sort of sponsorship with Patriot Mobile. This is a right-wing conservative Christian mobile phone network from Texas that actually is very active. They sponsor politicians running for seats, also things like school board seats, and there's some articles about them having taken over, like fully taken over a couple school boards in Texas. So they do the type of grassroots activism that has paved the way for the dominance of the reactionary viewpoint at this point in politics, completely astroturfed and largely empowered by the fact that you have these well-funded activist groups that are Tea Party style, installing policies and politicians that, you know, will write trans people out of existence, or in this case, it's like a pro-life partnership they were doing. So that's why she is talking about these tenets of pro-life or whatever, and she says this thing about how, like, do you guys explicitly say left and right? What she's saying there is, do you present these ideas as non-political, or will you reference the left as being your enemy? Which is an important distinction when it comes to right-wing media. And it seems like they told her that it's okay for her to say the left, demonize the left, etc., because this is an explicitly right-wing Christian nationalist outfit. So in doing research into Riley Gaines, I also found that she is also a part of the Red Seat conservative podcast network. So her and Jillian are part of the same conservative world. And you can see the type of talent that they're recruiting here, right? Like Riley Gaines is as much of a grifter as they come, never believed in anything, purely took the opportunity that came with positioning herself against this trans swimmer she competed against. Again, neither of them were even in the top 3 to win this race. But she turned it into this whole political issue, which she then leveraged into talking about education and pro-life issues for companies like Patriot Mobile. So that's how the Grifter Network works on the right. Same network that takes Jillian Michaels from being like a TV show host to being a, pseudo intellectual grifter who just uses AI to kind of fling herself through these conversations without really scrutinizing much of it. About as good as getting fed talking points from someone off screen. And I think Jillian Michaels, I will try not to overemphasize her importance going forward, but I am going to keep an eye on her because I think that she is particularly positioned to go insane with the way that she is discerning this information. And I think that the whole bot thing is a big part of the internet that drives all of us insane, really. Not being able to know how much of the engagement you're seeing or how many people that are professing a certain idea are actually real. But the delusion coming from her in this instance is that the right wing is the one that has created this astroturfed environment. In fact, they push back so hard against what they viewed as wokeness and Twitter cancel culture or whatever. And as toxic as some of that could be, most of it was organic engagement. And now what we have is this completely dead internet theory, bizarre kind of circus where nobody knows what's real and what's not. And it's partially because right-wing content has been pumped onto everybody's feed at breakneck pace. So Jillian Michaels and Riley Gaines' ability to continue being the ones professing that sort of thing, and Dave Rubin too, is going to depend on their ability to seem unflinching in the face of derision from the radical left. And that is why they are positioning themselves this way, trying to say, oh, some of these people are deranged and they're evil and they're death threats and blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's going to work because, again, what they're up against is very engaged audiences of actually real people. And so I think as the pushback to this right-wing reactionary era that we're in gains strength leading up to the next two elections, a lot of people are going to be very surprised at the amount of organic voters and general activist behavior that we get over the next couple years, because these people like to convince themselves and forget that the left wing is the one that has the people.